She walked into that courtroom like she owned it, designer everything, that smug smile plastered across her face. "Do you know who my father is?" she sneered at Judge Judy, voice dripping with pure arrogance. Judge Judy didn't flinch, didn't react, just stared. Then she opened her mouth. 7 words. That's all it took. The girl's face went ghost white, her knees buckled, tears started streaming down her face right there on live television. The entire courtroom gasped, but what Judge Judy said next, what she revealed, would haunt this girl forever. What was the truth? But before we get into it, tell me, where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments and hit subscribe for more shocking courtroom moments. The echo of her question, "Do you know who my father is?" still clung to the air like smoke as she took her seat. The courtroom had gone still, watching the entitled young woman settle into the witness chair as if it belonged to her. The camera would have lingered on her face if this were a film, the carefully painted lips curling into that unmistakable smirk, the kind born not from confidence, but from a lifetime of getting away with everything. Aubrey Whitmore did not sit in the courtroom. She occupied it, stretching her entitlement across the space like an expensive perfume. Judge Judy watched her with the stillness of someone who had seen arrogance bloom before and knew exactly how it withered. Aubrey adjusted her designer blazer, flicking her hair over her shoulder with a motion meant for cameras, not courtrooms. The audience murmured softly, sensing the imbalance of power even before the case had begun. To them, she looked like a girl who had never been told no, and would not handle hearing it today. Judge Judy finally spoke. "Miss Whitmore," she said, voice steady, clipped, precise, the tone of someone preparing a surgical cut. Aubrey's smile widened, relaxed, arrogant. She looked ready to spar, as if she believed the judge was simply another person beneath her father's shadow. But the judge did not spar. She observed. The plaintiff, Maya Torres, sat silently at the opposite table, gripping her worn folder like it held her last remaining truth. Aubrey glanced at her with theatrical disdain, rolling her eyes so dramatically that the courtroom exhaled in discomfort. The contrast between them was impossible to miss. Maya's trembling restraint versus Aubrey's extravagant audacity. Judge Judy leaned slightly forward, her glasses catching a glint of courtroom light. "Let us begin," she said. Her tone was calm. Too calm. Aubrey took that calm as permission. "Well, Your Honor," she began, crossing her legs leisurely, "this whole situation is ridiculous. Maya is just—" "Stop." One word, quiet, sharp. The room stilled again. Aubrey blinked, stunned. She was not used to being interrupted. Judge Judy's eyes held hers with unwavering precision. "Before you paint yourself as the victim, Miss Whitmore," she said, "I'd like to hear from the person you call ridiculous." Aubrey scoffed, but the smirk faltered. Just slightly, just enough for the audience to notice. Her fingers, manicured and jeweled, tapped anxiously against her chair. The first microscopic crack had appeared. Judge Judy shifted her gaze toward Maya. "Miss Torres," she said softly, "tell me what happened that led us here." Aubrey's head snapped toward Maya in disbelief, as if the judge had committed an insult simply by allowing someone else to speak. And across the room, Maya inhaled shakily, prepared to open the folder resting in her trembling hands. But as she lifted the first page, Aubrey's smile died completely, because she recognized that document before anyone else did. The document trembled between Maya's fingers, not from fear, but from the weight of finally being seen. Across the room, Aubrey's smirk had evaporated, replaced by a tightness around her mouth she could not hide. The courtroom lights hummed overhead, casting a harsh glow that made Aubrey look smaller than she had moments before. She shifted in her chair, the confidence draining slowly as Maya stood. If Section 1 was Aubrey's stage, Section 2 belonged to Maya. Maya stepped forward, her shoes barely making a sound on the polished floor. The worn folder in her hands looked almost fragile compared to the sleek, expensive case Aubrey had tossed carelessly onto her table earlier. But there was nothing fragile about the truth inside it. Judge Judy's voice softened. "Take your time, Miss Torres." Maya nodded, breathing out, letting the air steady her. The camera of a reality show would have zoomed in, the faint quiver of her bottom lip, the determination burning behind her eyes, the way she held that folder like it was both shield and confession. She opened it. Aubrey flinched. Maya lifted the first page, a printed screenshot of a text thread, Aubrey's messages bold and unmistakable. The threats were cruel, cold, and delivered with the casual malice of someone who never expected consequences. The audience inhaled sharply. Aubrey rolled her eyes, trying to resurrect her earlier bravado. "Oh, please, those messages are taken out of context," she muttered. But her voice had lost its shine, replaced by a brittle edge. Judge Judy did not look at Aubrey. "Continue," she instructed Maya. Maya swallowed. She started after I moved in. At first it was small things, comments, insults. But then, she began threatening to get me removed from the dorm. She said she could ruin me because her father owns half the state. A soft rustle spread through the audience. Aubrey let out a laugh, the wrong kind of laugh, high and desperate. "That is ridiculous. I never said—" "Do not interrupt her again," Judy snapped, her tone flat as steel. The silence that followed pressed against every wall. Maya continued, turning to the next page, a printed email. This one she sent to our housing director. She claimed I was unstable and a safety concern. I did not even know about it until weeks later. Aubrey's jaw tightened. "That was a joke," she muttered. Judy's eyebrows lifted. "A joke that almost got her removed from housing?" Maya reached into the folder again, her hand steadier now. Each new document was a wound she had lived through. Each page, a piece of pain she had swallowed to survive. But as she lifted the next sheet, a dorm incident report she never filed, the color drained from Aubrey's face completely. Judge Judy leaned forward. "Maya, who wrote that?" Maya's eyes flicked to Aubrey, and the room felt colder. Her answer was just a breath, but it detonated in the silence. "She did." For a moment, no one breathed. The words, "she did," still hung in the air, fragile and explosive, as Maya slowly lowered the incident report. Aubrey stared at it, as if it were something venomous she had hoped would stay buried. The courtroom lights hummed louder, or maybe the room had simply grown quieter. Judge Judy extended her hand. "Bring it here, Miss Torres." Maya stepped forward, each movement deliberate, gathering strength from the silence itself. She placed the document into Judy's waiting palm. The judge glanced down. One look was enough. Her eyes sharpened, the way they do when truth shifts from whisper to scream. "This handwriting," Judy said softly. "It looks familiar." Aubrey's pulse kicked visibly in her throat. Maya opened her folder again, this time with steadier fingers. She slid out another page, a screenshot of a recorded voicemail. The words printed beneath were unmistakably Aubrey's voice, crisp, entitled, dripping with threat. "If you do not move out, I will make sure you regret it. Do not test me." The audience reacted as if a wave had rippled through them. Aubrey attempted a laugh, but it cracked mid-sound. That could be anyone. People fake voices all the time." Judy fixed her with a stare so sharp it could slice marble. "Are you suggesting someone impersonated you?" Aubrey hesitated. Too long. Maya continued without waiting for permission. She pulled out text screenshots, each one more damning than the last. Demands, ultimatums, insults typed without hesitation. Aubrey's confidence crumbled like wet plaster. "Those are edited," Aubrey snapped, desperation bleeding into her voice. "She is obsessed with making me look bad." Judge Judy tapped the papers lightly, almost thoughtfully. "Miss Whitmore," she said, "edited screenshots usually have inconsistencies around the timestamp. These do not." Aubrey stiffened. "And speaking of timestamps..." Judy slid one screenshot forward. "Explain this one. The message you claim you never sent was delivered at a time when your phone shows you were logged into your social accounts." The color drained from Aubrey's cheeks. That is not accurate. My phone must have..." "Phones do not spontaneously fabricate harassment," Judy cut in. The entire courtroom leaned in, sensing the unraveling. Maya pulled one last sheet from her folder, the one she had hesitated over. A photo. Aubrey in their dorm room, holding Maya's belongings over an open trash bin. The image was grainy but undeniable. Aubrey's breath hitched. "That was a joke," she whispered. "A stupid joke." Judge Judy raised a hand, silencing her. "A pattern is not a joke. It is behavior." Aubrey's painted confidence seeped away, replaced by something she had not shown all day: fear. Judy placed all the documents into a neat pile and folded her hands over them. "Miss Torres, are there more?" Maya nodded slowly. She reached into the folder, and this time, what she pulled out made Aubrey recoil before anyone even saw it. Aubrey recoiled before the courtroom even saw the document. Her reaction alone sent a ripple through the room, a visible flinch, as if truth itself had reached out and grabbed her wrist. Judge Judy noticed. Everyone noticed. Maya stepped forward slowly, revealing the page she held. It was not a screenshot, not a photo, but a printed statement. Typed, formal, signed. Judy's eyebrows lifted. "Is this a witness statement?" Maya nodded. "She filed it with campus security," she whispered, "but I never saw it until now." Aubrey's voice cracked. "That is not, I did not, someone forced." "Sit," Judy ordered. The single syllable held the weight of a closing door. Aubrey sank down, her knees trembling. Judy read the document silently, her expression tightening with each line. The courtroom seemed to grow smaller, the air heavier, as if the walls themselves were listening. "This statement claims," Judy began slowly, "that Maya threatened you with physical harm." Maya's head snapped up, disbelief etched across her face. Aubrey swallowed hard. "I was told, I thought it was just procedure." "Procedure is telling the truth," Judy said. The judge turned another page and found something even more troubling. The timeline. Dates. Times. An alleged altercation at a moment that did not match Maya's dorm entry logs, and did not match Aubrey's own text messages sent at that exact time. "Miss Whitmore," Judy said, folding the pages with surgical precision, "explain to me how you were being assaulted at 9:42 p.m. when you were texting Maya insults at 9:43 p.m. Aubrey froze, not a breath, not a blink. The audience leaned forward as if pulled by gravity itself. "That must be wrong," Aubrey whispered. "The report, maybe they wrote it wrong." "Maya," Judy said, "did you write any part of this report?" "No, Your Honor." "Did you request it be filed?" "No." Judy looked back at Aubrey with a kind of disappointed clarity that cut deeper than anger. "So who wrote it?" Aubrey's mouth opened, then closed again. Her jaw trembled, lips quivering as though the truth was a weight she could no longer carry. Judy tapped the signature line at the bottom of the statement. "This does not look like your handwriting, and yet your name is printed, typed, and recorded as the complainant." A whisper spread through the audience. Aubrey's eyes darted wildly, toward the door, toward her bag, toward anywhere truth could not reach her. Judy leaned forward, voice dropping to a measured, unforgiving calm. "Miss Whitmore, your story does not add up. Not the timeline, not the evidence, not the report. Someone fabricated something. Either you, or someone helping you." Aubrey's breath trembled. "I did what they told me," she blurted, then slapped a hand over her mouth as if trying to pull the words back in. Judy's eyes sharpened. "Who is they?" Aubrey did not answer. She could not. Because at that moment, Judge Judy reached for a sealed envelope under her bench and said, "This changes everything." The sealed envelope sat on Judge Judy's bench like a live wire, humming with a truth no one in that room was ready for. Aubrey's eyes fixed on it, widening with the kind of recognition that comes before panic. Judy slid it forward with 2 fingers. Slow, deliberate, as if unveiling the next chapter of a story Aubrey thought she controlled. "This," Judy said, tapping the envelope, "did not come from you. It did not come from Miss Torres. It came from campus security after a request made earlier this morning." A murmur swept across the gallery. Aubrey visibly shrank into her expensive blazer, her posture collapsing inch by inch. The confident girl from the beginning of the hearing was slipping away like stage makeup in the heat. Judy opened the envelope. Inside was a stack of printed notes, screenshots, internal reports, and a short letter attached with a paperclip. The letter trembled slightly in Judy's hand, even though her fingers were steady. "Aubrey Whitmore," she said, reading with measured clarity. "You were involved in a previous incident, a serious one, and according to this report, consequences were avoided." Aubrey flinched as if struck. Maya's eyes widened. She had not known this either. Judy placed the letter aside and lifted the attached documents. There was a false police report filed last semester, alleging harassment, threats, emotional manipulation. She paused. "By you?" Aubrey's breath fractured in her chest. I did not want to." "But you did," Judy said calmly. "And someone worked very hard to bury it." The gallery reacted again, this time heavier. Reality was beginning to tilt. Judy raised the letter. "Campus security states that your report was flagged for inconsistencies, but before they could investigate, a request came down from higher up." The room froze. Aubrey's eyes filled with tears. She tried to blink away. Judy continued, her tone shifting. Not cruel, but carved from stone. "The request came from your father's legislative office." Maya gasped quietly. Evan, somewhere in the back row, lowered his head as if reliving a memory. Aubrey shook her head. No, you do not understand. I did not ask him to." "Did he know?" Judy asked. Aubrey's silence answered for her. Judge Judy leaned back slightly, studying her the way a surgeon studies a wound before cutting deeper. "You used your father's power to silence an investigation. You allowed a false report to stand as truth, and now you expect me to believe you acted alone?" Aubrey's throat tightened. "I did what they told me," she whispered again. "Who is they?" Judy pressed. Aubrey's voice cracked. "People in his office. They said it was to protect him, to protect us." Judy's gaze hardened, not in anger but in recognition of a familiar pattern, privilege used like a weapon. Before Judy could ask her next question, the courtroom door creaked open, and someone stepped inside who made Aubrey's face drain of all remaining color. The creak of the courtroom door sliced through the silence like a blade. Heads turned. Aubrey's face went chalk white, her lips parting in a silent, horrified gasp. Because the person walking in was not a stranger. He was the one person she prayed would never show up. A young man, mid-20s, nervous posture, eyes rimmed with exhaustion, stepped inside holding a slim laptop bag against his chest like a shield. His badge glinted under the lights. Evan Pierce, former legislative intern. The shadow behind the senator was no longer a shadow. It had a face. Judge Judy studied him with a calm, assessing gaze. "And you are?" Evan swallowed hard. "Your Honor, I was asked to come. I used to work for Senator Whitmore." A ripple of electricity moved through the courtroom. Even the cameras seemed to tighten their focus. Aubrey's voice burst out, high and panicked. "You were not supposed to be here." Evan winced, but kept walking until he stood beside Maya. "I am sorry," he murmured, not to Aubrey, but to Maya. That was the first crack, but not the last. Judge Judy gestured toward the witness stand. "Mr. Pierce, take a seat." He did, posture stiff, fingers shaking slightly as he opened his bag. "I have information," he said quietly, "about the report, about what happened, about Miss Whitmore." Aubrey shot up from her chair. "He is lying. He hates me. Everyone hates me because of who my father is." "Sit," Judy said, the word hitting like a gavel strike. Aubrey sank back down, trembling. Evan continued, voice steadier now. "I was the one who drafted the first statement filed by Aubrey last semester. She told me what to write, word for word. Then the office changed it." Maya's breath caught. "You wrote it?" she whispered. Evan nodded, guilt etched into every line of his face. "I thought it was harmless. I thought it was just politics. But then they added things she never said, claims she never made." And when I raised concerns, I was told to stay loyal or lose my position. Aubrey slammed her palm onto the table. I never asked them to do that. I just thought. You thought you were protected, Evan said gently. You always were. Judge Judy's eyes narrowed slightly. Mr. Pierce, do you have proof of this? He opened his laptop bag and pulled out a printed chain of emails. Messages from the senator's staff, drafts of reports, internal notes about controlling the narrative. The room seemed to pulse with each revelation. Aubrey's breathing grew shallow. That is private office correspondence, she whispered, horrified. Not when it is used to harm someone, Judy replied. Evan's voice lowered. There is more. They told me to watch Maya, gather details, make her look unstable. I did not want to, but I did, because I was scared. Maya's eyes softened, pain and empathy intertwining. Judge Judy leaned forward, folding her hands. Mr. Pierce, what did you mean when you said she made you lie? Evan swallowed. His next words were almost a confession. She threatened to ruin my career if I refused. Evan's words echoed through the courtroom like a confession no one saw coming. She threatened to ruin my career if I refused. Aubrey's head jerked up, eyes wide, panic rippling across her face like a crack spreading through glass. Judge Judy did not move, she did not blink. She simply watched, the way a storm watches a tree about to snap. Evan clasped his hands tightly, knuckles white. She told me that if I did not cooperate, she would tell the senator I breached confidentiality. She said she could make sure I never worked in politics again. A soft gasp rippled from the gallery. Aubrey's voice broke into the tension, sharp and trembling. He is lying. I never said that. Judge Judy lifted a hand, silencing her effortlessly. Miss Whitmore, sit back. Aubrey sank into her chair, but the collapse was visible now. Shoulders curled inward, breaths uneven, her hair no longer perfectly arranged. The polished mask she wore all her life was starting to slide. Maya watched her, not with triumph, but with something closer to disbelief. She was witnessing the fall of a girl who had once towered over her like a shadow she could never escape. Evan adjusted his glasses, voice steadier now that the truth was out. I tried to tell her it was wrong, that manipulating campus safety records was illegal. But she laughed. She said, rules don't matter when you know the right people. Aubrey's chin trembled. That was a joke, she whispered. But even she did not sound convinced. Judge Judy leaned forward slightly, not aggressive, just deliberate. A joke, she repeated. You seem to use that word often when faced with consequences. Aubrey's eyes shimmered. I did not mean. Intent does not erase impact, Judy snapped, voice cold enough to freeze the air. The audience went silent. Maya stepped forward, her fingers tightening around her folder. Your Honor, I thought I was losing my mind. Every complaint I filed vanished. Every time I asked for help, they said there was no evidence. I thought maybe it really was me. Her voice cracked. But it was them. Her. And the people protecting her. Aubrey's eyes darted desperately between Maya and Evan. You do not understand. I had no choice. Evan shook his head softly. You always had a choice. You just never had to face the consequences. The words landed like blows. Judge Judy exhaled through her nose, slow and controlled. The signal she was done listening to excuses. Miss Whitmore, this is no longer about petty roommate disputes. This is about a pattern of manipulation orchestrated with the help of powerful people who assumed you were above accountability. Aubrey's breath hitched. Her hands trembled so visibly she clutched them together to hide it. Judy turned back to Evan. Mr. Pierce, do you have anything else the court should know? Evan hesitated, eyes dropping to the bag at his feet. Yes, he said quietly. One more thing. He reached inside. Aubrey whimpered, actually whimpered, as if she already knew what was coming. Evan pulled out a second folder, one with Aubrey's name printed on the tab, and someone else's initials beneath it. The folder Evan pulled from his bag was different, thicker, heavier, and the moment Aubrey saw the initials stamped beneath her name, her entire body recoiled. like someone had yanked an invisible wire running through her spine. Judge Judy extended a hand. "Bring it here." Evan stood, his palms slick with nerves, but he moved with the determination of someone done carrying secrets. When he placed the folder on Judy's bench, the sound it made was soft, but the room reacted as if a gavel had slammed. Judy opened it. Inside were organized tabs, emails, reports, photographs, internal memos. Every page looked like it belonged to an intelligence file, compiled with precision and intention. Judy's eyes narrowed. Who created this? Evan hesitated. Her father's chief of staff. He keeps records on situations that could threaten public optics. A slow murmur swept the courtroom, part disbelief, part dread. Aubrey shook her head violently. No, he said those were just guidelines. He said they were drafts. They were not real. But Judy did not look at Aubrey. She was already reading through the tabs, her face tightening with each page. The first was a memo titled Behavioral Risk Management. Subject, A. Whitmore. Beneath it, a bullet point list. Monitor dorm activity, document interpersonal conflicts, shift narrative when necessary. Utilize emotional leverage if subject resists. Aubrey gasped, a sound so raw it cut through the oxygen in the room. Judy turned to the next tab. Incident reconstruction. There were drafts of fabricated reports, sample statements, and notes written in the chief of staff's handwriting. Frame as concern for student welfare. Invoke senatorial duty if questioned. Remind her what she owes this office. The audience reacted with stunned whispers. Aubrey covered her mouth, tears sliding down her cheeks, not the dramatic, calculated kind she wielded before. These were different, smaller, real. Maya stared at the documents, heart pounding, not out of revenge, but from the shock of realizing how deep the manipulation ran. Evan swallowed hard. They used her, he said quietly. They taught her how to intimidate, how to lie, how to survive in that world. Aubrey shook her head, voice cracking. I did not want this. I did not know they kept files on me. Judy turned another page, and her expression shifted. Not shock, but something colder. It was a photograph. Aubrey, mid-argument with Maya in the dorm hallway, but the caption was what froze the room. Test scenario, escalation behavior successful. Maya's hand flew to her chest. Aubrey folded in on herself, shoulders trembling. He told me to do it. He told me it was practice. And you listened, Judy said, voice low, heavy with disappointment. Aubrey's tears fell faster now. I thought it was just how things worked. Judy closed the folder slowly, deliberately. This is not protection, she said. This is exploitation. Aubrey trembled like a child realizing the monster she served was not protecting her, but crafting her. Judy's voice dropped to a chilling calm. There is one question left, Miss Whitmore. Aubrey lifted her head, eyes hollow. Who taught you to do all of this, and why were they so invested in controlling you? Aubrey did not answer. Could not. Judge Judy's question. Who taught you to do all of this, and why were they so invested in controlling you? Hovered over her like a storm cloud ready to burst. Her silence was not defiance anymore. It was fear. The courtroom seemed to shrink around her, every face watching, every breath held. Even the lights overhead burned a little brighter, revealing just how pale she had become. Maya stood frozen, folder clutched to her chest, her earlier anger dissolving into something more complicated. Shock, maybe even sorrow. She was witnessing not just a perpetrator unravel, but a victim who never realized she was one. Judge Judy rested her hands on the bench, voice quieter now, but sharper than ever. Miss Whitmore, these documents paint a picture, a disturbing one. Someone had a vested interest in shaping your behavior. Who? Aubrey's lips parted, but only a trembling breath escaped. Her mascara streaked down her cheeks, catching the light like black rivers, tracing the collapse of everything she thought she understood. Evan looked at her gently, guilt flickering across his features. Aubrey, just tell her. Please. But the word tell was a detonator. Aubrey shoved her hands into her hair, gripping tightly like she was trying to hold her skull together. "I cannot," she whispered. "You do not get it. I was not supposed to say anything, ever." "And yet here we are," Judy replied. "Truth has a way of finding its own exits." Another shuddering breath, then another. Her composure kept slipping, inch by inch. Judy continued, methodical and calm. "You were raised in a world where privilege replaces accountability, where image is more important than honesty. Someone took advantage of that. Someone groomed you into weaponizing power, even when you did not want to." The word groomed almost knocked Aubrey backwards. Her knees buckled. She grabbed the table for balance. Maya instinctively stepped forward, then stopped herself, unsure whether compassion was welcome or foolish. Evan whispered, "He did this to you too, Aubrey. You have to say his name." The room tensed. Aubrey shook her head violently. "No, no, no, no. If I say it, everything falls apart. My father's career, the office, everything they told me to protect." Judy cut her off. "And who told you that?" Aubrey squeezed her eyes shut, tears dripping onto the polished table. I thought if I obeyed he would finally see me as more than a burden. I thought it would make him proud." Maya's breath hitched. Evan lowered his head. Judge Judy's tone softened, but did not lose its edge. "Miss Whitmore, are you referring to your father?" Aubrey shook her head, slowly, painfully, decisively. "No," she whispered, voice cracking open like a wound. "Not him. He never even knew." The courtroom stilled. Judy leaned in. "Then who?" Aubrey opened her eyes, and for the first time there was no entitlement, no arrogance, no performance, only terror. "It was his chief of staff," she whispered. "He controlled everything, including me." The words, "he controlled everything, including me," still echoed when Aubrey's knees nearly buckled. For the first time since stepping into the courtroom, she no longer looked like the senator's daughter. She looked like a girl caught between fear and the truth she had been trained to swallow. Judge Judy did not rush her. She waited. Silence, thick and deliberate, settled around them like fog closing in on a coastline. Aubrey gripped the table with trembling hands. Her breaths came unevenly, each one scraping through her chest like broken glass. The audience leaned forward, sensing the shift. This was no longer arrogance unraveling. This was conditioning unspooling in real time. Maya watched with a strange heaviness in her chest. She had braced herself for cruelty, for excuses, for denial, but not for this. Not for the quiet shattering of a girl she'd once feared. Judge Judy's tone softened, not sympathetic, but human. "Miss Whitmore, tell me what he did." Aubrey looked up, mascara streaking down her cheeks, mouth trembling. "He was my father's chief of staff," she whispered. "He used to tell me I represented the family brand, that my behavior reflected on the senator, that if I made mistakes, he would fix them." She laughed once, a tiny broken sound. But fixing them always meant lying, or making someone else look worse, or creating a story that protected the office. Her eyes blurred with tears. "He said the truth doesn't matter when you're born into power, only the narrative." Judy's brows pinched together, not in shock, but in recognition of a system she'd seen destroy people before. Aubrey continued, voice cracking with each syllable. "He taught me phrases, taught me how to intimidate without sounding like I was threatening, how to call things jokes when they crossed the line, how to break someone down while pretending I was helping them." Her shoulders collapsed inward. "I didn't even realize what he was doing to me. I thought he was preparing me, protecting me." She wiped her cheek with a shaking hand. "I thought if I followed him, my father would finally pay attention to me." A gasp escaped Maya, not out of pity, but out of understanding that the monster she'd faced might have been built, not born. Evan nodded slowly, confirming what he had long suspected. "He manipulated all of us," he said quietly. "He weaponized her, and he used her fear to keep the machine running." Aubrey's eyes met Maya's for the first time without anger, without superiority, just guilt. "None of this excuses what I did. I know that," she whispered, But I need you to know, I was never trying to destroy you, I was trying to survive him." Maya's throat tightened. Judge Judy let the silence hold, let the truth settle. Then, gently but firmly, "What else did he make you do?" Aubrey closed her eyes, her entire body trembling as the next confession pushed its way out. "There's something he made me cover up," she whispered. "And it's worse than anything you've seen so far." Aubrey's whisper. "There's something he made me cover up. Worse than anything you've seen so far." Sucked all remaining oxygen out of the courtroom. Even Judge Judy, composed and unshakable, leaned forward just an inch. Not out of curiosity, out of caution. Aubrey's hands trembled so violently she clasped them together to stop the shaking. Her shoulders had caved inward, her spine curled, as if she were trying to make herself smaller than the truth pressing against her ribs. Judge Judy waited. Her silence was not permission, it was pressure. Aubrey inhaled shakily. "There was another student," she said. "Before Maya." Maya stiffened. Aubrey's eyes glistened, unfocused, staring somewhere far beyond the courtroom walls. "He tried to report me. Not for harassment. For something else." Her voice fractured. "He told the school I'd been following him, showing up places he didn't want me to be." The gallery murmured, confused. Aubrey shut her eyes. "I wasn't stalking him. I swear I wasn't. I was lonely. I thought he liked me. But I got too attached, too quickly, and when he pushed me away, I panicked." A tear slid down her cheek, slow, deliberate, like a confession carved into her skin. "I told the chief of staff. I didn't know what to do. I thought he'd just help me talk to the student, but instead—" She swallowed, hard. "He wrote a report saying the student was threatening me." Maya's heart clenched. Evan looked down, jaw tight. He knew this pattern too well. Judge Judy spoke softly. "Did you approve that report?" "No," Aubrey whispered. "He didn't even tell me what he was writing. He just said, 'If this gets out, your father will never forgive you.' And then he handed me the report and said, 'Sign it. This is how adults fix mistakes.'" Her voice shook violently. I believed him. Judy's eyes hardened with a slow, controlled fury, not at Aubrey, but at the machinery behind her. Aubrey continued, guilt pouring out like floodwater. "The student was placed on academic probation because of that report. His scholarship was reviewed. He transferred out after the semester ended." Her breath shivered. "I ruined his life. And I didn't even understand what I'd done until months later." The room fell into a stunned silence. Maya felt her anger shifting, not dissolving, but transforming into something deeper, more conflicted. Judy asked quietly, "Why didn't you come forward when you realized the truth?" Aubrey's voice broke entirely. "Because he, the chief of staff, reminded me that he drafted the report. He protected the senator's image. And if I ever admitted what really happened, he'd say I coerced him. He said I'd be sent away, cut off, disowned." "And you believed him?" Judy asked. Aubrey nodded, crying openly now. "I didn't know I had a choice." Judge Judy leaned back, the weight of the truth settling across her bench, and then it hit her, the final piece. "Miss Whitmore," Judy said slowly, "I don't think he was protecting your family at all. I think he was protecting himself." Aubrey looked up, stunned, broken, as the realization finally dawned. Aubrey's breath stuttered as Judge Judy's words settled through the room. "He wasn't protecting your family. He was protecting himself." The aftershock of that revelation didn't hit all at once. It moved through the courtroom like a slow, rolling tremor, starting at the bench, crawling through the audience, and breaking apart inside Aubrey's chest. She swayed, grabbing the table with a trembling hand. Judge Judy's gaze softened, not in pity, but in recognition of a truth that had just detonated the world of a girl who'd never known stability outside manipulation. "Sit if you need to," Judy murmured. Aubrey sank down, a quiet whimper escaping as her composure finally fractured. Not in the dramatic, performative way she once used to get what she wanted. This was smaller, raw, almost childlike. Maya watched her, and something unexpected rippled through her ribcage. Anger still lived there, yes. But so did clarity, an understanding that Aubrey wasn't the mastermind she'd feared. She was a product, and a victim, and the source of Maya's suffering all at once. Evan cleared his throat softly. "I always suspected," he said, eyes lowered. The chief of staff, he was obsessed with optics, with controlling every narrative, and he used Aubrey as leverage because she didn't know she was allowed to push back. Aubrey let out a trembling breath. "He told me my father didn't have time for my problems, that everything I did was an inconvenience unless he fixed it. I thought that meant I had to do whatever he said." Judge Judy leaned forward, elbows on the bench, her expression carrying the weight of the truth Aubrey was finally confronting. "And now you realize he was never protecting you. He was protecting his own career from the consequences of letting a troubled situation spiral beyond his control." Aubrey nodded, tears pooling in her lap. The courtroom felt suspended in a rare moment of collective vulnerability. Even the cameras seemed to hum more quietly, as though capturing not humiliation, but revelation. Maya stepped forward, unable to stay silent any longer. "Aubrey, what he did to you doesn't excuse what you did to me," she said softly. "But I didn't know you were living under that kind of pressure." Aubrey looked up, eyes swollen, voice trembling. "I didn't know either. Not really." The air shifted, an emotional pivot neither of them had expected. Judge Judy cleared her throat, reclaiming the moment with a steady authority that grounded the chaos. "What matters now is what you do with the truth. You cannot undo the pain you caused. You cannot erase the damage." Her voice softened. "But you can stop running from accountability." Aubrey's lip trembled. "I want to," she whispered. "I'm just scared." "Good," Judy said. "Fear is the first sign you're finally seeing clearly." Evan nodded, more firmly this time. "And you're not the only one he manipulated. You deserve a chance to reclaim your voice." Aubrey blinked up at him, hope flickering beneath the devastation. Judge Judy folded her hands. "Now that the truth is on the table, Miss Whitmore, you tell this courtroom what justice should look like." Aubrey's breath hitched. She opened her mouth to answer, when a sudden realization crossed her face and she whispered, "But if I tell the whole truth, I might destroy everything." Aubrey's whisper, "If I tell the whole truth, I might destroy everything," hung in the air like smoke refusing to clear. But Judge Judy didn't let it drift. She cut through it with a single steady command. "Then start by telling the truth about what you've already destroyed." Aubrey's eyes lifted, red-rimmed, trembling, and for the first time, she didn't try to hide. Maya stepped closer, cautiously, like approaching a wounded animal uncertain whether it would bite or break. "You said you want to take responsibility," she said softly. "Then look at me when I tell you what you did." Aubrey's throat bobbed, but she forced herself to meet Maya's eyes. Maya inhaled, steadying her voice. "When you sabotaged me, when you spread lies to get me removed from housing, I stopped sleeping. I stopped eating. I thought I was losing my mind." Her voice wavered, but didn't break. "My grades slipped. I almost lost my scholarship. I had to choose between fighting for my reputation and keeping my sanity." Aubrey's breath fractured. "And the worst part," Maya whispered, "I thought I was worthless. I thought I was the problem. Because every time I reached out for help, someone shut the door." She paused. "Now I know why." Aubrey covered her face with her hands. "I didn't know what he was doing, but I knew what I was doing. I hurt you, and you had every right to hate me." Maya's jaw tightened, not with anger now, but resolve. Hating you wouldn't undo what happened. For a heartbeat, the courtroom seemed to pulse with the quiet, fragile truth shared between them, two young women standing at opposite ends of a wound, finally seeing each other clearly. Judge Judy broke the silence, her voice grave but grounded. "Miss Whitmore, remorse is not a performance, it's a decision. And now that Maya has told you the damage she lived through, you must answer the question you've been avoiding." Aubrey wiped her face with trembling fingers. Her voice was barely audible. I'm sorry, Maya, truly, for everything. Not because I got caught, not because they told me to be, but because I see what I did now. Maya's eyes softened, just slightly. Evan stepped forward too, shoulders heavy with his own guilt. And I'm sorry as well. I was part of that machine. I helped shape the story against you. You didn't deserve that. Maya nodded slowly, accepting, not excusing. Aubrey let out a breath that shook her entire frame. It wasn't just you who got hurt, she whispered. There were others. Friends I pushed away. People I belittled to look stronger. Lies I let spread because they made me feel less invisible. Her voice cracked. I didn't realize how much damage I was capable of until now. Judge Judy leaned back, the weight of the moment settling. Good. You're finally seeing the truth. And the truth doesn't destroy people, Miss Whitmore. Lies do. Aubrey nodded, wiping another tear. But as she exhaled, a new tension crept into her expression. Something unresolved, something still buried. Judy noticed. Miss Whitmore, she said quietly, there's something else weighing on you. What haven't you told us? Aubrey didn't speak at first. She just stared at her own reflection in the polished table, a distorted version of herself rippling with every shaky breath. Judge Judy waited, the courtroom suspended in a fragile, expectant silence. Finally, Aubrey exhaled. What I haven't said is, I was never scared of getting caught. I was terrified of being nothing without them. The words wavered, but they were honest, dangerously honest. Judge Judy nodded once, as if she'd been expecting that revelation all along. That fear, she said, is exactly why people in power misuse it. It fills the space where integrity should live. Aubrey swallowed hard, tears collecting again at the corners of her eyes. I don't want to live like that anymore. I don't want to be the person they shaped, but I don't know who I am without all that pressure, without that machine behind me. Maya watched her, really watched her, not as the villain who tormented her, not as the senator's spoiled daughter, but as a young woman whose life had been carved by the hands of people who valued image more than humanity. Evan took a step closer to her side. You start by admitting what happened, by accepting what comes next. You're not the only one who needs to face consequences. His voice cracked. I do too. Aubrey glanced at him, surprised. You tried to help me just now. I should have helped you then, he replied. Judge Judy picked up the thick folder, the one filled with memos, manipulation, and evidence of a political machine built on fear. But this time, she closed it gently, like sealing a chapter rather than slamming a judgment. The question now, Judy said, is not whether consequences will come. They must. What matters is whether they will break you or reshape you. Aubrey's lip quivered. I'm scared they'll destroy me. Maybe they will, Judy said plainly. That's the price of truth when you've lived too long in lies. The words landed with a soft thud, painful but honest. Judy turned to Maya. You deserve restitution, you deserve closure, and you deserve to know the system that failed you will answer for it. Maya nodded, grounding herself in the moment. I don't want her life ruined. I just want accountability. I want her to face what she's done, and what she allowed to happen. Aubrey closed her eyes, tears falling freely. I can do that, she whispered. Whatever you decide, whatever the court decides, I'll take it. I won't hide anymore. Judge Judy leaned back, folding her hands with a finality that made the entire room tighten. Good, because now comes the part none of you can avoid. A hush fell. Consequences. Aubrey's breath hitched. But before I deliver my ruling, Judy said, eyes locked on Aubrey, you must answer one last question, one that decides everything. The courtroom froze. What kind of person do you intend to become after today? In moments like this, justice and compassion collide. Tell me in the comments, do you believe people can truly change, or do they just learn to live with their mistakes? The courtroom felt impossibly still as Judge Judy asked the question that cut deeper than any accusation. What kind of person do you intend to become after today? Aubrey didn't answer right away. She didn't panic. She didn't cry. She simply breathed, a long, unsteady breath, as though she were inhaling her life for the first time without someone else scripting it for her. Her voice, when it finally came, was soft but steady. "A better one," she said. "Not because it looks good, not because someone tells me to be, but because I'm done hurting people just to feel like I matter." She lifted her head, meeting Maya's eyes. "And I'm done being the weapon someone else forged." The room held its breath. Judge Judy studied her, not the entitled girl who strutted into the courtroom hours earlier, but the young woman sitting before her now, stripped of pretense, stripped of protection, and finally stripped of the lies she had lived inside for far too long. Judy nodded. "Stand." Aubrey rose, hands clasped in front of her. There was no defiance left, only willingness. Judy took up the folder, the one heavy with manipulated reports, coercion, and the long shadow of a political office gone unchecked. "This case," Judy began, "is about more than roommate disputes or petty cruelty." Her voice deepened, resonant. "It is about the consequences of power left in the hands of people too young to understand it and too pressured to question it." Aubrey closed her eyes as though bracing herself. "Maya Torres," Judy said, turning to her, "you will receive financial restitution for the academic and emotional damages you suffered. The full amount will be paid by Miss Whitmore." Aubrey nodded without hesitation. "In addition," Judy continued, "all documentation regarding the false statements and manipulated reports will be forwarded to the appropriate campus authorities. And the Chief of Staff's actions," she paused, letting the weight hang, "are being referred to state investigators." A ripple moved through the audience, shock, relief, satisfaction, all tangled into one. Aubrey's shoulders fell, not in defeat, in release. "As for you, Miss Whitmore," Judy said, returning her gaze to her, "justice is not punishment, it is responsibility. You will issue a formal written apology, you will complete a corrective behavior program, and you will participate in community service chosen by the court." Aubrey swallowed. "I will." Judy nodded. "And you will do all of this without the aid of your father's office or anyone acting on his behalf. This is yours to carry and yours to grow from." Aubrey nodded again, tears filling her eyes but not spilling. Maya stepped forward gently. "I accept that," she said, "and I hope you become the person you said you want to be." Aubrey breathed out, a quiet, grateful exhale that seemed to unspool the last knot in her chest. Judge Judy lifted her gavel. "Then this matter," she said, "is resolved." The gavel struck. Aubrey didn't collapse. She didn't rage. She simply stood there, small but real, finally facing a future not built on power, but on choice. As the tension dissolved, the courtroom lights seemed softer, warmer, revealing the truth that lingered in the air. Arrogance collapses, truth doesn't.